Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new edition of Getting Color right here on the BigVitoBrand.com. And I am Virtue from the No DQ Review, being joined by former WCW Hardcore Champion, without further ado, Big Vito LaGrasso. What's up, man?
What's going on, everybody? I hope everybody's having a great day out there. I know everybody's enjoying the last of the summer, well, the last month of summer, which I think is going to extend a little bit. We're going to keep this great weather until like at least November, December. So everybody keep you getting your pool on. It's the BIGV from the LOG coming to you live, baby, live from the new studio. And I tell you, did you check out Aaron Rip with his new pictures for today?
Oh my God, every day.
Disgusting. I'm in love, guys. I have a girlfriend. All right, Aaron. Remember when you used to be one of us men?
I remember when he started the Divorce Club, and he wasn't even in that long before he got hitched again. But now, with all due respect, his woman's a very nice girl, right? I met her.
She is.
But
this has nothing to do with his woman. To
No.
the woman out there, this has nothing to do. This is man talk, all right?
Yes.
And this had nothing to do with you. But Aaron forgot his boys, when he was alone and he used to cry at night, eating his little cheese doodles in bed. Who did he call? The boys. When he was sniveling and had a cold, who did he call? The boys. And when he was lonely at Christmas and had nobody to give a gift to, who did he exchange with? The boys. Now we get nothing.
Now, how do I go from that into our first topic? Usually we'll talk about sports first. Let's just bump that. Just one topic, because right now, right off the bat, Nia Jax.
Jax.
She has been AWOL from social media, from everything I can tell. Guess what, on Raw this past Monday night? She came back, and she went against Shayna Baszler, who had been off of TV for the most part. They were both working as heels, so they were going against each other. And guess what WWE is trying to do? Create two monsters against one another. Interesting that all of a sudden Nia stops TikToking. You've been talking about this weekly now for over a month, for months.
2 months, 3 months.
Have at it right now with this Nia Jax thing. Is she trying to be booked as the monster she's supposed to be?
She has been watching the show. She has been listening to every interview I'm getting at. She has listened, and maybe she has learned, and so has the WWE people. You can't book a monster with somebody doing TikTok, smiling, dancing, and doing all this. Now, yes, the thing with her hurting people and people retiring, that's definitely a point too. But either you're going to concentrate on wrestling or you're going to concentrate on your TikTok career. I hope that this was an awakening for her, because if she doesn't pull this off this time, there is no reason for her to have a job at the WWE. What good is she? Does everybody realize that they have all the belts on two girls and they are short-handed? They are short-handed, people, especially with the Naomi and Booker T drama from last week, her begging for something, and then Naomi doing this lame. Did you see Naomi's lame move?
Yeah, I don't know if she was trying to do a Canadian destroyer or what, but yeah, I saw it.
It was horrible. God, Naomi, you're way better than trying to impress people. Do what you do best. Do your athleticism. Use your athleticism. Use the jumps, the hops that you have. Trying to do these wrestling moves, that's not you, and you flubbed, and it was horrible. All right, they're shorthanded at WWE. They're trying to push things. I hope Nia Jax gets on track so I can say positive things about her, because she can be a difference maker in the world of wrestling, but not by TikToking and playing the fool, and doing her stuff. Would you agree, David?
Yeah, and it's interesting that, she had been off TV for a bit, and so was Shayna, and they put them both together against each other. Well, no Becky, no Charlotte. So you're right, they're thin, and they're trying to put talent out there.
I always thought, and this is my opinion, and I know some other veterans have voiced the same opinion, Shayna Baszler, they pushed her too quick and she wasn't ready. She didn't have the experience to handle the push. And she did when it was time for her to come through and carry the ball by herself. This is nothing against her. It's just inexperience. Not that she can't wrestle or she doesn't have a look or she's good or bad. Experience factor. And she wasn't groomed. So maybe now with this, maybe this time off, maybe she worked on some stuff, gained some knowledge. Hopefully she comes back. I hope for Nia Jack, she comes with a better work ethic and puts time in to develop her craft, like I've been saying for months. Now, on a side note, did I enjoy Nia Jax's TikToks? I always tell David, I freaking love that girl. She's my girl. That's my boo for TikTok. But on the wrestling side, I hope you do use this as a stepping stone to become the greatest champion of all time. That's heart to heart. That's people to people. I want to see you succeed. All right, David, let's get off this subject.
Yeah, and stay tuned. We all well that she's a weekly topic at this point. Now, but we got to go back to sports here. So I did my fantasy draft for baseball. So about 10 days into my 2 baseball leagues, I have a couple injuries. Every team's having to deal with this. I have 2 good teams with good high in the standings. And what might happen because this virus is spreading within baseball, like the Marlins, they played the Phillies, so those 2 teams are shut down. The St. Louis Cardinals now, and it's weird because they're shutting them down to test everybody, and then they're trying to scramble and book these double headers that are 7-inning games. I think that the MLB season could end up being canceled here. Now, what's different, Vito, with NHL, which just started back up in NBA? They're in their bubbles, right? They're in their little remote locations versus MLB is still kind of traveling around. What is your take here? And do you think baseball will continue, or are they going to have no choice but to shut it down?
I think it's a shame that they couldn't quarantine and play in one place and be in, and have a place like the NBA has Disney. I I'm almost positive there is, like, I know at Disney they have the baseball field there. They have the Disney Stadium with a minor league park. It might not be the greatest thing for Major League Baseball, but it's still baseball and it is a Major League park. Now, is it the best stadium? No. But could they have quarantined and put all the teams there to where they had a morning game, an afternoon game, and a night game? Absolutely. Right? Could they have quarantined the teams to play and stay at the hotels at Disney? Absolutely. Now, I just think with all the guys, you notice Lorenzo Kane opted out, Orlando Cepedas of the Mets opted out. Guys are starting to opt out because they've seen the Marlins with all these, viruses and everything. And guys, don't fool yourselves. There's more to come. I think the Major League Baseball season is going to get cut short. And I have to say this as a baseball fan, I hate the runner on second thing, and I hate the idea of 7 inning games.
Yep.
That is not Major League Baseball. And you want to know what else, guys? Having the DH for this short season, for the pitchers in the National League, I think was a great idea. To have it full time, bring back baseball to where the way it used to be played. I would greatly appreciate it.
Now, I enjoyed, I got to see LeBron versus the Clippers in that first night back, and
Right.
LeBron had his game winner in front of no crowd. But so I'm enjoying this. Now, I want the playoffs to start because, like, to me, I just want to see the elite teams battle it out for the championship. So, I hope that at least it continues to work out for the NBA and they stay safe since they're in a bubble. But at MLB, man, and just because I'm doing well in those 2 fantasy leagues, I can see this week the season getting canceled, and I'll probably get refunded by Yahoo. But anyways.
Now, hey, did you see, everybody knows I'm a Mets fan. Edwin Diaz cannot pitch in New York, and it is a shame. He was in Seattle. He was lights out. He came to New York. I just don't think he can handle the pressure.
Now, that's weird that you say that. Now, in normal circumstances, I'd be like, okay, New York, the crowd, the city atmosphere, the big life. But without a crowd, explain that. Like, if he's pitching well on the road in front of no fans, then he comes home to New York. Is it still just the pressure of being in the Big Apple?
It's New York sports and the writers and everybody being on you. The fans add to it. But when you talk about, the pressure of New York, and you have to be a winner and you produce, Remember the Yankee picture? What's his name? Gray.
Sonny
Um,
Gray?
Sonny Gray. He could not pitch for the Yankees, and that guy was a quality pitcher. Goes to the Cincinnati Reds. He makes the All Star team, signed an extension, a 4-year extension with $40 million, and the guy's a champ. Some guys just
Yep.
cannot pitch for the New York teams.
And he was good in Oakland, which wasn't New York.
Right.
Yep.
Guys, it's a shame. And you know what? Guys opting out because of their families and guys getting a little nervous, we understand this. And for them to be playing, yeah, you're going to lose out. Do they still, if they opt out in the middle of the season, David, do they still get their salary or are they done getting paid?
They probably only get paid for the games they played, and then the rest was probably pushed back. So I think it might extend their contract, because their contracts are for so
Right.
many years. So that's probably what happens. It pushes it back.
Now, I got another question for you, baseball wise, because you're in the fantasy league and you're in the.
Yep.
Now, if, say they cancel the season, how does that affect their salaries? Would they get paid anyway, even though they were playing, or do they just get cut?
That's interesting. Like, you would think they'd only get paid for their games that they played, but it's not a strike. So I'm sure, I don't know, I'm sure there's rules of that written in that bargaining agreement that they had to do these 60 days of games. So chances are they're only going to get 60 games worth of pay. I bet you they still get it if it's canceled because of a pandemic. I bet you they still get that pay. But
I would hope so. I would hope the guys get paid, not, for taking a risk, because, guys, during this pandemic, there are a lot of guys who work in very needy situations, and they don't get any hazard pay, and they don't get any extra, and they're out there doing their thing every day. Baseball players are taking a chance, and a lot of these guys have little babies at home, kids, moms, dads, just like our families. David has parents who are older. My wife definitely is a candidate to get sick. So I mean, it's a trying time right now. Everybody be careful out there. That's what we can say. What do you got next, David?
We're going to go over to AEW here. And, they've been getting former WWE talents, and it's funny because fans will get, oh, you should build your own stars. And, if I look back how WCW got big, they had like a mix of their own stars and they pulled competition guys over, which was a big buzz back in the day. But these guys coming over now, they're not a big buzz to me. So I have two things for you. Matt Cardona, Zack Ryder, makes a debut, saving Cody Rhodes from decimation. And then what do you think with this Cody Rhodes just facing indie guys? It's like, all right, for the indie fans that see these indie workers, they love it. But to build wrestling up, the people that don't know these workers, they're probably like, who's this guy? Like, the most recent guy was Warhorse, and the week before it was Eddie Kingston, who got a contract. Look, great for these guys getting work, but what's AEW doing here, Vito?
All right. Matt Cardona, okay, came through the WWE system. The guy is he's a championship wrestler. Can't take nothing away from him. He's a tag team champion. I believe he held United States title or the Intercontinental title.
He had both for a period.
Yeah, both. So there's a guy who's held 3 types of titles. Okay, he's 4-0 at WrestleMania. Right?
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he's been in 4 WrestleManias. He's 4-0. Everybody lets that slip through their mind, but the guy's undefeated in WrestleMania, and that's pretty impressive. Now, he's got a great body. He's got a good look. When he was in the ring with Cena during his heyday, and then they wouldn't let him get bigger than Cena with the woo woo woo.
Yep.
That killed him. The guy made himself something, and I applauded him, and I thought, guys got it. When they crushed him and buried him, I said, this sucks. Now, he went over to AEW. I know that he came out, and I'm not saying that he's not a good wrestler, but he came out bigger than he thought he was, meaning that if he was this big star and he was on the elites, Kurt Angle, Steve Austin, uh, you know,
Yep.
Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan thing, hey, I could see walking down the ring and having the people go crazy. But you come out and you're walking with, just to stand there with Arn Anderson. Now, here's the thing. Arn Anderson didn't take a bump, and Arn Anderson just stood there with those two guys. Arn Anderson should have got his ass kicked. Here comes Matt Cardona for the save, jumping off the top rope, coming in, crack, crack, do your thing.
Yep.
That's how I would have booked him. When he came down walking in and just walking down the ramp, the flattest entrance and the flattest thing I ever seen in pro wrestling. It did nothing for him. It did nothing for Cody Rhodes. It did nothing for Arn Anderson. It made Arn Anderson look stupid. If you're
Yeah.
going to jump in the ring and you're going to be a manager, guys, then get involved. You're going to protect your guy. You mean to tell me you're not going to go in there and you're not going to throw your hands? So it made him look stupid. Cody's out there. Go ahead, David.
Well, they're winning the demo, according to Dave Meltzer. And for 2 weeks, they actually lost the total viewership to NXT. But the last few weeks, they've been back on top of that, and they were always winning the demo. So that's what Tony Khan thinks. Bringing these guys in and doing what he's doing with them is great.
I thought it was a terrible entrance for Matt Cardona. I wish they had a better entrance for him. He should have came in like a house of fire, had a couple different moves for each guy, help up Arn, help up Cody Rhodes, seeing if they're okay. Now he came to save the day, not having Arn Anderson bail, walk down to the day. Totally, sometimes I don't know where they get their mindset from. Is basic wrestling 101. I
Well,
could
like
just
Archer coming in with Jake
yeah.
lost to Cody. Like, I mean, you would think you would have built him up and then have Cody chase him for a little while. You know what I mean? It's just very strange decisions with the people they bring in. Cage lost already. They did the Taz
Yeah.
towel throwing.
Guys, and then we talk about the indie guys coming up. Now, my opinion of the indie guys, right? When you're an indie guy, there has to be there's a place for you on the card, and there's a place for you in wrestling. When you come to the indies, why do you think you go to developmental? To groom you, to school you, to prepare you for the next step. Because you're on the indies 5 years, you say, I got 5 years experience. Well, how many matches have you had? Well, I've had 10. You ain't no 5 year veteran, okay? I'm just using it as an example.
Yeah.
The first kid who went in there was Eddie Kingston, okay? And the finish of that match, and you look at people's bodies, you look at their work, you look at their frame, you look at you're not ready for primetime TV. Definitely was not ready. Okay, that I don't care. He belonged in a developmental situation for sure. This gentleman, Warhorse, right?
Yeah.
He was not ready. Cut this promo. I was going to do this, going to do that. Walking down the street, comes in the ring, flat. There ain't nothing that caught my eye. He flat.
So
By
let me ask you this then: with
Go
the
ahead.
guys like Eddie Kingston and Warhorse, they get such that following, that indie following. Why do you think that is? And those fans, like, if there's some fans out there when they hear you saying that about them, they're gonna come after you. Like, how could you say that about? Do you know who Warhorse and Eddie Kingston are?
No,
Like,
I actually no.
there.
Hold on. No, I
Yeah.
actually don't know them. No, I've never heard of them before. No, they never caught my eye. I am a wrestler from the time when you had to be a wrestler. I was never an indie star. I didn't have the indie ring to my name. I started in the WWF. I continued wrestling the big names. Skull Von Crush made an 8-year run. Skull Von Crush is still talked about today. Skull Von Crush was on the WWF, was in WCW, was on many tours, was in Japan, All Japan, Germany, um, Puerto Rico. He had his own cult following. But these indie guys with these indie stars, they think they're stars, but when you get to the major leagues, Your body's not ready. Your look is not ready. Your tone is not ready. Your gimmick is not ready. You're going out there. You're embarrassing. And the best thing is, David, is that all these guys are cutting promos. Well, if Cody Rhodes wants to have an opponent, how about challenging me? And you got guys who are wrestling who are near 50 or in their late 40s challenging Cody Rhodes. I think the challenge thing sucks, okay? Because you're bringing in guys. Who are you beating, Cody Rhodes?
Well, think about this. They're having indie guys that aren't with the company coming in. Why aren't there anybody inside AEW coming after Cody's title that are already there contracted? Like, if this was supposed to be real, which, we're way past that, but if it was, you would have your own roster coming out there challenging Cody, not these people. You know what I mean? It's almost like Cody's manipulating it and only accepting challengers from the indie guys. Just very weird. But then again, Tony Khan's booking it. So,
Well, here's a question I have for everybody out there. How come Cody, if there's indie guys, how come he's not challenging Hulk Hogan or inviting Batista? John Cena's not under contract. How come you ain't inviting him there?
that's a good point,
Question.
especially with the guys that could still go, like a Cena, or
Right.
somebody that a CM Punk. I mean, you know what I mean? Buzz.
Yeah, but that's the thing. If you're gonna go out there and say you're the best, right? You go out there and you challenge the best. How, Hulk Hogan is banned from our company because he said something. So Kevin Owens just said something, and somebody else who is your announcer just said something.
Exactly.
What are
And
you
they're
going
gonna
to do?
keep
You're going
him.
to ban everybody? So instead of banning these people, hey, Hulk Hogan, I'm Cody Rhodes. I'm not Dusty Rhodes. I'm Cody Rhodes. And I'm challenging you. How about John Cena? Hey, John, when you're done with your move, how about challenging The Rock? He ain't under contract. So if you're thinking about it, guys, why isn't Cody Rhodes challenging the best out there and making a name for himself? Beating these indie guys and not doing anything. These should be dark matches on TVs, on TV taping. These are not TV worthy. You want to challenge the best? Go after a Batista. Go after a Cena. Go after The Rock. That's who I want to friggin' fight.
This is a great segue because it's almost as if people like Cody, TNT, USA, Fox, I don't know if the networks, but it's like they're happy with just this niche group of fans that watch the shows. Vito, here's some staggering numbers here.
Good.
So we know AEW and NXT are having this huge wrestling war. We know it's not
Huge
really
wrestling. Huge.
Exactly. That was sarcastic. And they're combining for maybe like 1.4, 1.5 at best. So they're splitting that rating every week. Now
Right.
AEW slightly beating them for the most part, but that's what they're splitting. Ready for this?
Good.
Raw and SmackDown each are down to about their combined from Wednesday night. So Raw and SmackDown are doing like 1.5 to 1.7. You know what that tells me? That's the amount of people that watch wrestling, no matter what, no matter how bad it is on any given night. 1.4 to 1.7 million people. Those are the diehards. The casuals are officially gone now. What do you think about that? True or false?
It is definitely true. I think the wrestling business has, you know, everybody on the indies is saying, "Oh, the indie thing is seen as really great." In indie. Why? If the indie guys are doing such a great job, how come they're not 500 and 1,000 people in attendance? You're lucky if you get 50 people at a wrestling show, right? You look at the wrestlers; everybody's a wrestler, but nobody can wrestle. Isn't that something? Okay, and this is not a knock against anybody, but you're talking about business, and you think by wrestling for $20, guys, that makes you a pro wrestler, or wrestling for 40 guys, or selling merch makes you a wrestler? It doesn't make you a wrestler. How about training? How about learning your craft? You know, I get on Nia Jack because she's in the big time, but she has an opportunity if she would apply herself. Hopefully, she cut herself off, and the WWE's cut her off where she can apply herself. But if she doesn't apply herself this time, there's no reason for her to have a job. It's just like you guys out there. What do they look for in a wrestler? First, they look for a body. Look for a tall body. They look for a built, chiseled, jacked body. They don't
Brock
want
Lesnar, Roman Reigns.
they don't want they don't want no short, fat, pudgy, wear a t-shirt kind of looking guy. I'm sorry, you don't see it on NXT, and you don't see it in anybody else's developmental. But that's not what they want. So if you're aspiring to be a wrestler, why would you do this and say you want to go challenge to be on TV? That makes you a mark. Because if you're just a mark looking to get on TV, sign yourself up for the WWE, okay, and go be an extra at TV and do dark matches. Why waste your time? Why use your one chance to expose yourself and do it that way instead of learning the ropes from the pros like I did and many of the greats did years ago?
Now, based on what you just said, like how does some of these guys, and I'm not knocking him because he's been a fantastic worker. Kevin Owens slipped through the cracks, got to NXT, got to the main roster. Are there some anomalies out there? Like, what do you think with somebody like him? Because the way he looks, I'm again nothing against that, but you know what I mean. He's not coming in with a Mick Foley mankind character.
Guys, Kevin Owens is a good wrestler. Yeah. Does he have the body that we all would aspire to be a wrestler? No. But can he wrestle? Yes. Did anybody ever think that there's an attitude problem or there's something behind the scenes besides his wrestling? Could it be that he was a problem? Could it be his attitude? Could it be he didn't have regard for authority figures? Did he have too many F-bombs in his promos? Did he not carry himself as a professional? People forget Daniel Bryan was out there for how long? 10 years before he made it?
Yeah, at least.
I think so, right? Daniel Bryan, everybody said, oh, he's the best. He didn't make it either for 10 years. So think about that, guys.
And he had to go through NXT or whatever it was back then.
Right. He had to go to Florida Championship Wrestling. That's where he went, FCW. But guys, there's a reason why you don't make it, and there's a reason why you don't get to the promised land. And there's a reason that something holds you back. You got to have an attitude check. Got an ego. You're hard to deal with. You got a big mouth. You're mouthy. You like to fight. You don't get along with others. You don't work well with others. There's plenty of reasons why you don't make it. I'm not getting down on Kevin Owens. I thought some of his best stuff was when he was with Chris Jericho and when he did his stuff. I thought when he hit the New Day, and David could tell you, I thought he did awesome. I was like, yes, this is what I want to see. This is funny.
Character, yeah.
Character, okay? And then when they took him out of New Day, I was like, eh. And then when they put him with Sami Zayn, the rivalry with Sami Zayn, hey, that was good. When they put him and Sami together, they tried to recreate him and Jericho. It didn't work. It was a bust. I think Sami Zayn never belonged in the WWE. He's got nothing to offer the WWE. I think he's so bland. And like every time he was on, it was click, turn the channel. I don't want to watch
it. Yep. And what I was basically getting at there is some of those indie guys, darlings, do get through the cracks, slip through the cracks. So it's interesting on how WWE picks and chooses. But speaking of those ratings, Vito, yes. Vince McMahon was asked, what do you think about your low viewership? And in Vince McMahon fashion, he said, well, we're in a pandemic and we're building new stars. Every excuse in the book, right? Except their own. And he actually went, here's the thing that threw me for a loop on this transcript.
Yeah. Just
fired Paul Heyman, right? They fired him.
Right.
He said Paul Heyman had some creative ideas. Vince McMahon has lost it. He's nuts. What do you think here?
I think after he hired Bischoff and Heyman and he got rid of them and he put Pritchard in charge, right? Now he's at a point where he has nobody to front. Remember, it was Michael Hayes, and then it was the other creative guys that got rid of. Then they got rid of the agents. Then they had the big firing. Then it was this, and then it was that. Then it was Hunter. Then it was Stephanie. Now everybody is out. He's got to answer for it now because he's got nobody else to put there. He has nobody else to answer the question. He has nobody else to blame. He's been trying to build stars for how many years? Has he done it? Absolutely not. So he doesn't know how to answer it.
He brings in Lesnar, right? But Lesnar was back in the Cena class, the Batista class, the Randy Orton class. He's gotten some mileage out of Roman, but because he was scared of that fan backlash, he kind of dicked around with Roman, and pushed him to the title, took the title off him. And I'm not talking about the whole leukemia stuff. So that kind of hurt the reign. He should have just said, Roman's going to be my star, and went with it. He didn't.
But he did go with it. Roman Reigns was in 4 straight main evented 4 straight WrestleManias, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, yes, but he didn't. What I'm saying is that title picture, Roman never had the title a long time. That's where they pulled back. Like Roman would have the big matches at Mania, but it's just like then Vince got cold feet when he heard those boos. What's he afraid of?
Guys, now everybody could sit here and say this, and we're going to be truthful. Mm-hmm. When Roman Reigns was on TV all the time, everybody was criticizing he's shoving Roman Reigns down our throats, and he sucks. When he had the promos with Cena and they put him with Cena, and Cena made a point. He says, I'm here because you can't do your job, which was totally correct. Couldn't cut a promo correctly, couldn't do his job correctly. He was The Rock's cousin. So being The Rock's cousin doesn't give you any oomph to be the top performer. You still got to go out there and do your job. Okay.
And Cena gets to go out there and shoot. Roman has to go out there and recite lines he's supposed to remember. It's just not a fair playing field, in my opinion.
It's not
for all of these new generation wrestlers, take the handcuffs off. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, but you're saying something about John Cena not having the handcuffs on, but John Cena earned the right because he did carry the company for a decade. True or false?
Well, he did, but he also had a lot of help during that run. Taker was still very active. You know, you had Shawn Michaels for a while, Randy Orton. It's like this new era, where are the stars?
We have nothing. We have no stars.
Yeah, it's just I feel bad for the couple guys they do decide to push, not named Brock, because they don't have a supporting cast and all the pressure gets dumped on them. I don't know. It's weird.
Now you got. Let's talk
about.
You
make a good point though.
And let's talk about like booking, right? And remember I told you in WCW when they changed everything, they said, Vito, they had me on such a good run to be a major star. I was just like one win away from being over the top. I was one of the top guys, but I wasn't over the top. Why? Because of change in booking. They just have this kid, Aleister Black, got a good look. They were pushing to the stars. There's a Paul Heyman guy. As soon as Paul got out of there, out he went. There's Shayna Baszler, right? Didn't they do the same? She was a Paul Heyman girl, right? So what happened? As soon as you got out of there, and if Vince don't like you, you're not going to make it in the wrestling business. It's just the way it is. I'm sorry, people, but that's just wrestling 101 from Vince McMahon. If you're not in the realm or you're not in, he doesn't have the eye, or if he gives you a chance and you fizzle, you're done. Forget it. See ya.
And look how quick Kofi Mania dissolved. And Daniel Bryan wouldn't go to Saudi Arabia. They haven't done anything with him.
I told you he was Job City.
Yeah.
I told you. Same thing with Kevin Owens and all the rest of the guys. Rusev is gone.
Gone. And this is bringing me to the main event. Because I wrote a column about Bray Wyatt and his whole run since he came up from Florida Championship Wrestling / NXT. We know the whole Wyatt gimmick, right? And if you haven't read my column, people, go over to NoDQ.com. It's up there on the opinion section. But Vito, I want to ask you, since you've worked in locker rooms and you know how this business goes, Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, we know why he did it, right? Tried to do character development, tried to create something new because WWE pissed on the Fiend or Bray Wyatt gimmick. So is this a failed because Bray's injury prone? Maybe he doesn't stay in shape. Maybe he's just not that good a worker. He can cut great promos. Or is this a case of WWE management just not allowing him to get that brass ring? I really want to know your take because I've always been a big Bray Wyatt fan, but I considered his Fiend run a failure, not because of him, because WWE management has really dicked it around. What is your take on this?
Guys, what was the great threesome or foursome that we had? The Wyatts. They were going so good. Why did you break them up?
They feuded with the Shield, and they were getting a big pop, big buzz for that feud.
Right? And you want to know something, guys? The Wyatts should have went over on the Shield at least once. right?
I don't know if they did or not. They might have, but I felt the Shield won the feud, so I can't
Right.
remember.
They won the feud.
Yeah.
When you're talking about those guys, if you talk about a faction, a group of four, right? You're talking about the Wyatts, and then once they started to break apart the Wyatts and put Bray as a single, okay, he was still carrying the ball. When he had his match against Cena, you already knew, you saw the handwriting on the wall that it was going to go down too. But he got a second chance where he fought The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Now we're talking, all right, if The Undertaker is going to be a pro and not worry about winning or losing, he puts the kid over and the Wyatt is on top. Did that happen? No. So they dicked around, They put him with Randy Orton. That was fantastic. What happened after that? Again,
1 month
bypass.
title reign and dropped it at
1 month.
WrestleMania.
Disgusting. I was so disgusted. They wouldn't let him get over. He goes on hiatus, comes back as the Fiend, comes with the Firehouse, the Firefly, everything's good, comes with the mask. He's indestructible. What was the match he had where he took everything in the house and he still was standing? What was it? It was a cage match?
The Hell in the Cell match.
Hell in the Cell. You couldn't beat him.
Dude,
How
you
do
know
you?
how they ended that match, right? He no sold all that stuff to
Right.
boost the supernatural stuff up, which we've seen from The Undertaker and The Urn, so this isn't new in wrestling. And then they ended the match from a referee stoppage when Seth was. That's WWE. That's not Bray's fault.
No, that's exactly what I mean. There
Yeah.
it is. He could have came up for the carnage and just sat up. Did he? Absolutely not. Then he had the Fiend came back and he won the title. Then it comes to Goldberg. Should never have lost the title. Goldberg was on his way out. Winning the title for Goldberg was nothing. The sad part is Goldberg had that fiasco with The Undertaker, and they thought by beating The Fiend that was going to put Goldberg back on the map. All it did was ruin Goldberg because he couldn't get The Fiend up for his finish. That sucked.
I mean, when Goldberg dropped the title to Strowman at the WrestleMania taping, it was like 3 minutes. He can't go more than 2 minutes. 3 minutes.
And plus, he's not in wrestling shape, which everybody forgets. He's not in wrestling shape. When he came back against Brock, he knew he had to be in wrestling shape. Big difference. Now you're going with Brock, you're going to have a run, making a lot. Well, they pulled him off the heap and said, hey, we need you. Hey, we're going to put the title on. He wasn't in wrestling shape. He was just in gym shape. Now, you talk about what they're doing with him now.
Strowman and Fiend is really where this is heading for the Universal title at SummerSlam.
You hope, you pray. If he doesn't win the title this time and keep it, guys, you might as well stick a fork with him. If I was him, I'd tell WWE, stick it up your ass. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. I am not wrestling for you no more. I'm going to let my contract run out, and I'm going to go somewhere else.
And you know what I think? We know he loves wrestling because of his bloodline. But you've been in the horror scene, right? The church.
Yeah.
This guy has a career. And I know the horror genre is not the big budget horror. I mean, there's some, but it's mostly the crowdfunded and this and that. We don't really have a good iconic horror legend that's new for this generation like I did growing up. Jason, Michael Myers, Freddy, Leatherface. Bray, he loves this stuff. There's a calling for him out there. I swear to God. What do you think?
You know, a guy named Bill Moseley, who was in the movie I was. All right. Okay. And you know Ron Howard's brother?
Clint.
Do you know that those two guys have been staples in the horror film industry for years? I mean, there isn't anybody who's there who could pick up the ball and say, hey, I'm going to do it. If he did get a chance to do horror films with his character, the mask, the Wyatts, I would love to see a movie of the Wyatts. Now, that would be something, and that could lead him into different things. If he went to AEW and he had the reign to do his thing, okay, and then he say, okay, Tony, is it all right if I do a couple movies or do a couple sitcoms as a fee? Do you know the money they would put behind them and they would propel and that company would go, right?
Well, what
Right
happened
now,
with WWE's film studios? Did they close them? Did they shut them down?
well, during the pandemic, they're not making no movies, right? But guys, what I'm saying is, if you have a fresh mind, which the WWE is out of, a rookie owner and a bunch of the boys booking for themselves, keeping themselves, status quo. But a lot of the stuff AEW is doing is not making any sense either. Goes against all the psychology of Wrestling 101. So damned if you do, damned if you don't. What do you do? Okay, perfect example. They had put Brian Cage with Taz, the FTW title, the towel. Okay, how in the fuck do you, and excuse me guys, but because it gets me mad, because when Taz was champion, we come from the same school, we break from the same bread. But when you go in there and Taz is repping you and you tap out in your first match, are you
Well,
serious?
they did the Taz, threw the towel in. Like how lame is that?
Lame. Taz never threw a towel in. That's the whole thing. That goes against his whole gimmick. But because they're paying him bucks,
Yeah.
that's what he did. You got Arn Anderson, right? How stupid did he look standing there with his two hands up, looking like an old man, instead of diving in there, giving somebody a pop, turning around, the other guy hits him, he's down. Both guys are jumping on him. Matt Cardona comes down, saves Arn Anderson, saves Cody Rhodes, saves the day. Big pop, didn't happen. Jake the Snake, wasted there. And then the worst thing of all is Brody Lee, right? Brody Lee having a cult following. You mean to tell me you came over from the WWE, leaving the Wyatts, to come here to have a cult following, to have Colt Cabana in your stable? I'm going to say this, and excuse me. Are you fucking kidding me? That's all.
Hey, they're trying to give Colt Cabana character development. I was just thinking, how Jake would be great if he kept saying, "Oh, I got someone." This would have been contingent if this one guy in particular's contract ran out in WWE. He's like, "I got one other guy. I'm going to bring him in. It's going to be Lance, me, and him, and we are going to take over this AEW. Have Jake bring in Bray, or whatever they would have to call him then. I don't know. I was just kind of. I don't think Bray has done anything wrong. I think he's busted his ass the past 7-8 years, and I just think they don't want to push him to the top and keep him there.
They keep him there. Guys, it's a sad thing. Wrestling politics 101, it sucks.
Yeah.
All right,
that's
Dave,
it this week, man.
I think we covered just about everything. From Aaron Rift ignoring his boys and being in love to Nia Jax to the Wyatts to Major League Baseball. And, you writing your first column in quite some time and it being a smash hit and everybody just getting on the no DQ train and railroading you.
Yep, and that's what, dude. You know why? Because they love it, and they're going to get more. And we got to bring Getting Color over to Aaron's channel, so we got to sit that boy down and have a talk to him.
Yeah, but we've been trying to, but he's too.
We haven't sat him down and had to talk to him yet. It's all through hearsay. It's all through messages and pictures and his photos.
Yeah, but I mean, he's in love. He's having finger sandwiches, drinking tea.
Pizza.
What the hell?
Crazy.
I don't know.
But anyway, make sure you follow Vito on Twitter at the Big Vito Brand. Go over to the website, thebigvitobrand.com. And every week, Getting Color is on Anchor, which is all the podcast audio platforms, is on Twitch. So thank you for listening. I mean, you guys are the best, and we got to get this up. So I'm going to cut the show off so I can upload it and send it to Noelle so she can post it. So, Big Vito LaGrasso, I am Virtue. You can follow me on Twitter at NoDQ_Virtue. Thank you for watching or listening. We'll see you next time.